Hi everybody, it's Perry here from Backyard Astronomy. I'm in Hawaii today, so I thought I'd take a trip up to the top of Mauna Kea to see Keck Observatory, do a summit tour now that the road is open. So I've hired some folks to take me up here. I would have done it myself, but the rental car people don't take kindly to driving even their four-wheel drive vehicles up there, so they won't cover insurance. So I hired some folks to take me up. So stay with me. We're going to take a look at the summit of Mauna Kea and Keck Observatory, and hopefully get some night shots. So stay with me. More to come.
The new Saddle Road is the new realigned Daniel K. Inouye Highway, named after our late Senator Dan Inouye. The old Saddle Road used to be the main way to traverse the island from one side to the other. The saddle goes over the mountain in between the two tallest mountains on the island, Mauna Kea and Mauna Loa. So the old Saddle Road is less traveled, so there's more opportunities to see wildlife while we're up here. Oftentimes we'll spot the endemic owl, which is the pueo. The pueo is a diurnal owl, so we will spot it in the daytime. It's hunting during the day and sleeping during the night, unlike what you expect when you think of an owl, which usually owls are nocturnal. We do have night owls here, but they're more of a typical barn owl, which is not endemic to Hawaii but was brought here. And we may be able to spot one. So if you spot an owl, yell it out. There are a lot of fence posts along this road here, and because there's not a lot of traffic on the road, a lot of times you'll see an owl just perched upon a fence post as we're driving up here. So if you see it, yell it out. Don't keep it to yourself. Directly out your right window. Yeah. He's hunting out there. Real pretty, huh? Landscape has changed quite a bit from where we started, huh?
Yeah.
Not that much driving, and all of a sudden moving into different ecosystems. We get about 13 to 30 inches of rain a year in this area, and most of that rainfall comes from a fog drip. Usually we're in a cloud when we're up here, or looks like we're going up into the cloud right now. Parker Ranch back to the day. So it's slowly been sold off. Sky Father Wakea came down to Earth and mated with the Earth Mother. Papahanaumoku is her name. And out of the love for each other, they created all of the Hawaiian Islands. But they also created the highest point in all of Polynesia, which is where they are forever embraced, at the summit of Mauna Kea. The Sky Father and the Earth Mother are forever embraced. It is considered a portal. It's where the earth ends and the heavens begin. The earth ends and the sky begins. There's another pueo up there above this hill on the right. It's flying over us. So for this reason, Hawaiians believe that there shouldn't be anything constructed at the summit. Nothing should be man-made up there because it's the realm of the gods. Vau Kanaka is the realm of man, which is down lower. Vau Akua is the realm of the gods and goddesses, which is meant for only the gods and cultural practitioners that bring offerings to the gods. It's definitely not meant to be a place that is built upon in Hawaiian culture. It's less of a roller coaster ride than this one, with one-lane bridges and no shoulders, no paved shoulders. The rental car companies used to make you sign that you would not drive their vehicles on this road back in the old days when everybody was using this road to commute back and forth, because it was considered dangerous back then. But now it's there's a wild boar inside too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So now it's not as dangerous of a road. I consider it an old country road. Not as dangerous unless you're a wild boar.
Yeah.
Then
You didn't do too well.
that is dangerous. Yeah. The wild boar are invasive, and they're part of the reason for tearing up the forest. Why we don't see much of a forested area around here. But these trees we see here with the yellow flowers. These are the mamane. Mamane is related in the pea family, and it is you see this one is really blooming. There's a critically endangered bird called the palila, where there's less than 1,000 of them left in numbers. It feeds off of the seeds from the seed pods and the flowers of that tree, the mamane. 4 inches per year, so we see cinder cones all around, and that's what happens to an older shield volcano. All of the Hawaiian Islands were created right where the Big Island is today. The hot spot is beneath where the Big Island is today. That is why 4 out of the 5 volcanoes on the Big Island are considered active. Kauai, the northwestern chain, the Hawaiian Emperor Seamounts, from the youngest island, which is Hawaii Island, and it goes up through the state to Kauai, which is the northwestern part of the state, but it continues out towards Midway Atoll, and you can follow a trail of underwater seamounts. You got to look at Google Earth because they're no longer islands. Eventually, these islands go back down into the sea, but it goes all the way up to Siberia, where the Eurasian plate or the Pacific plate is converging beneath the Eurasian plate. Practice in World War II through the 70s. That island is now toxic. Nobody lives there. Military actually succeeded in breaking the water table. That island will not hold water. Therefore, it will not sustain life. Brings tears to my eye every time I say that or hear that. He's the guy that Douglas Fir was named after. And he wrote in his journal back when he was here that Mauna Kea was so heavily forested that heavy forest would be utterly impenetrable if it wasn't for the cattle trails that were already here. Cattle was introduced in the mid to late 1700s, and you look around and you go, what happened to this forest, right? You guys see there's a white structure underneath that cloud and directly in front of us? You can see it's the only structure we see out there.
Yes.
That is the Mars Habitat Simulator. The High Seas Project. The University of Hawaii and NASA working together, where they've had at least 7 missions up there so far, where there'll be 6 astronauts or human subjects for that matter that will stay there for 8 months to a year with limited rations of food, very little contact with the outside world, but all contact with a delay as if they're on Mars. If they go outside for conducting experiments and such, they're wearing oxygen suits, space suits, because they're acting as if they're on Mars. Very close quarters, sharing one toilet, one kitchen, very small kitchen, conducting experiments. This is the 1935 lava flow. You can see it. You can see the lava flow as it came down from right near on the right side of where that Mars habitat is. You can see that flow came down, and this is a Pahoehoe flow, right? Ladies, we talked about Pahoehoe earlier. Pahoehoe described as smooth and ropey. It almost looks like pavement in sections. Maybe a really bad paved job, but looks like asphalt. I've had people tell me that's how our streets in downtown Chicago look. Is it true? Here you can see the cinder from this cinder cone here, and there's a very dense koa forest trees up here, which are very endangered, also with sandalwood. And this is the protest camp, which was much larger than this. You can see the anti-TNT sign. Their main concern is that TMT construction workers and equipment will never pass this area. And the reason why they moved off the road, because they were right in the road up until late December, is because TMT released a public statement saying that they're going to not proceed with construction for 2 months. They're not going to try and access the summit for 2 months. They want to consult with their investors, which they have many, before they decide to what they are going to proceed with. TMT 30-meter telescope is going to take 10 years to build. 10 years. And if they don't have safe and consistent access to the summit, it's going to take forever. So their second choice location is La Palma, which is on an island in the Canary Islands in Spain. And that is the second choice location, and they're working on getting permits. I'm told they got some of the permits already over there, but some of the investors are insisting that this observatory is built here on Mauna Kea. I know for a fact that India has already said, let's get out of there. They don't want us there. So, as much as I'd love to see it built here, there's a lot of cultural issues that need to be dealt with and are not being dealt with. Until they're dealt with, I don't think TMT is going to be able to build here. It's as much as I'd love to see it here, as much as it would be great for the economy, something non-tourist related, bringing dollars for research here would be a good thing. But there are a lot of Hawaiians that are unhappy with this. Well, the Polynesians were the first Hawaiians, and they think about 1,000 years ago, give or take several hundred years. I'd say several hundred years because there was no written language. It was all oral, so handing down from generation to generation. We think about 1,000 years ago, though. The first Polynesians to arrive here were from Marquesas, followed by the Tahitians. But when we talk about Polynesia, we're talking about South Pacific, part of the North Pacific. As far southeast as Rapa Nui, and as far southwest as the Maori from New Zealand. You take these two southern coordinates and you add in a northern coordinate, the Hawaiian Islands, and you've got the Polynesian Triangle. Now these Polynesians, they're all related. There's Polynesian islands throughout this big triangle: the Samoans, the Tahitians, the Marquesans, the Tongans, the Fiji, just all of these little islands, Pacific Islanders as they're known as in the census. But they all share similar cultures and similar language and similar DNA because they were voyagers. They would venture out to sea looking for other of their kind, other people, other land, to see what they could find. And they were the greatest navigators of that era. I mean, Rapa Nui to New Zealand to Hawaii, that's a massive chunk of the Pacific Ocean. And they would navigate in their voyaging canoes, their double-hulled sailing canoes. 1,000 years ago, they didn't have Google Maps to show them the way. How does anybody find their way without Google Maps, right? They didn't have cell phones. They didn't have compasses or sextants, even. How did they navigate across the ocean and find their way home?
Stars.
To Hawaii.
Yeah, the stars.
The stars were a huge part of this. Big part of it. But being observant in nature, including the stars, is what it was all about. Observing the tides of the oceans, the winds, yes, the trade wind patterns, the prevailing winds moving from northeast to southwest gave them a direction. Birds, yes, migratory birds. You know this stuff. Migratory birds. If there were birds out at sea, well, Perhaps there was land nearby. Temperature of the water, just dropping their hand into the water and recognizing water getting warmer or colder, maybe tells them they're moving closer or further away from the equator once they learned this point where the water is warmer and cooler north of and south of the equator. Maybe they didn't call it the equator, but they recognized these patterns in nature. But the stars were a big part of this, and they broke the sky up into 4 quadrants based on the piece of sky they were looking at, depending on the time of year, the season. As our planet Earth moves around the sun, we're looking out towards a different trajectory, if you will, in our Milky Way galaxy, so we see different stars. The Polynesian, same thing. They saw different stars. So there are 4 main star lines. They committed to memory about 220 stars, they believe. Polynesian Voyaging Society has kind of pieced together these star lines. In a lot of ways, these star lines make a lot more sense than Western interpretation of the sky. We're going to see a star line tonight that stretches from the north part of the sky to the far south part of the sky, and there will be stars in this star line that you will not see from anywhere in North America. Because Hawaii is 19.5 degrees north latitude of the equator, we can see a lot of the southern hemisphere sky that you won't see from North America or Europe, for that matter. So the second brightest star in the sky is called Canopus. The Hawaiians called it Keali'i o Kona Ikaleva. I know, it's a mouthful. It stands for, it translates to the chief of the southern sky. And this star was used to take them back to Tahiti. You would point your voyaging canoe in that direction towards the southern star to take you south. I mean, you got in touch with the sky as it evolved. If you were on a voyaging canoe, what else would you do during the evening? There was no Netflix back then. You're looking up in the sky, you're creating your own pictures, just like many cultures do, right? And in the northern part of this sky, that star line, there's a star called Capella. The Hawaiians refer to it as Hokule. But they see more than just Capella, one star. They see a group of stars that create a lei. You guys all know lei, right? They have flowers usually, or woven leaves. Well, Hoku means star, so imagine a lei of stars. We're going to see this tonight on the northern part of the Keika'o Makali'i star line, which means the bailer of the Makali'i. So it's going to make a big bailer in the sky. So we're going to be looking for a big scoop. Not the Big Dipper. It's going to be a lot larger than the Big Dipper. The Big Dipper actually will not be seen when we start our stargazing. It will be seen, however, part of it, when we leave Mauna Kea tonight, and by the time I drop you off, most of it will be visible. It will be rising. We lose the Big Dipper for part of the evening, for part of the nights here in Hawaii, because the North Star is so low in the sky here because of our latitude. If you're on the equator, the North Star is on the horizon. If you're 19.5 degrees north latitude of the equator, the North Star is 19.5 degrees above the horizon. We are now at 9,200 feet in elevation. Everybody take a deep breath and slowly exhale. I'm going to drop off the permit here at the visitor center, which is currently getting ready to close. And then we're going to continue on to the summit. Partner behind me. He's up there.
Oh yeah, I see him.
Yeah, see the zigzag.
Wow.
Sometimes scientists come up here as well, but less of that nowadays because of the internet, fiber optics. You can view data anywhere in the world. Right here is where you'll find the only snow removal equipment in the whole state of Hawaii, right here on the right. Now, we've been talking about cinder cones all day and how, you know, Mauna Kea is coming of age. We're seeing cinder erosion here. As the upper portions of the mountain is mostly cinder, there's no longer a caldera at the summit of this volcano. Because of the cinder cones that have filled it in, there are even observatories perched upon cinder cones, like the Keck Observatory, the largest ones that are on the summit. Everybody take a deep breath and slowly exhale. Try and keep that going. Don't wait until I remind you. Just try and keep it going. What I do is I take a deep breath and I'm slowly exhaling by talking. So you'll hear me take a deep breath and slowly exhale while I talk. It's kind of a little trick I found. The inversion layer is quite elevated today. See these clouds. Lily Noi is embracing us. She's saying aloha. These cumulus clouds up here. Stratocumulus. Anyone know what time the sun sets today?
About 6:30, somewhere around there. 6:20.
When did it set last night?
Oh, I'm thinking more like 7. Really?
No.
No, I think it's more like
In
6.
Kona or Waikoloa, it set like 6:15.
Yeah. Really?
But here on Mauna Kea, we see the sun set 10 minutes after it sets on the west side of the island. Now that sounds counterintuitive.
Yeah.
We've been driving east all day. You would think it would set first in the east, right?
Right.
Yeah, somebody's pushing their hand up.
No. Yeah.
We're going high. We're getting high on the mountain. And because of that, we're looking over the curvature of the earth. We don't have any flat earthers on board, do we?
No.
Hey, be surprised that for some reason this flat earth society is gaining traction. I don't understand why, but the earth is round. So we're looking over the curvature. Our horizon changes because we're so high up on the mountain. So we see the sunset 10 minutes after it sets on the west side of the island. We do routine tours of their facility. You could actually see the control room and stuff. Some of the scientists, that's where they go. But some of them don't even come to the island. They don't need to. All right, deep breath and slowly exhale. You guys were reminding each other, right? Remember, Alandi Ohana. We all have mana. We're bringing mana to the Mauna. Mana is the energy, the spirit, the power within oneself. People have mana. Places have mana. But Mauna, which is different than mana. Mauna means mountain. So we're bringing our mana to the Mauna. National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration has their largest and first ever CO2 detection station up there on Mauna Loa at 11,000 feet. So below where we're seeing the summit there. You can see there's a little bit of snow on Mauna Loa right now on the summit. I have a feeling we're going to have an incredible sunset tonight with these stratocumulus clouds. Everybody take a deep breath and slowly exhale. sail. They look a lot like the landscape out here.
Yes.
It's kind of like we have been swept into a portal. Gravitational waves have kind of pulled us in and spit us out. We're on the planet Mars right now. And this cinder, the road is going.
Yep.
That's where we're gonna go. You can see there's a bump on the top of that cinder cone. That is the stacked stone structure that is up there that is known as an ahu, considered like an altar to the Hawaiians, a very sacred place. It's about the furthest you can place these radio antennas without losing view of the same object due to the curvature of the earth. There's that word again, curvature of the earth. You can see there's some snow up here. We're just gonna stop here for a brief 5 minutes. If anybody wants to get out to get a photo, feel free to ask. I can assist with photos. We'll get right up to it. There's also a placard over here if you want to take a photo of it. It has some information on it. And on the other side of where Justin's van is parked, there's a cement wall there, and there are 2 stones on there. One of them is known as lava scoria, which has lots of holes in it, which the holes are from gas escaping. And there's another piece that is the ice-quenched basalt, which is a very dense stone. So you can see the difference between the ice-quenched basalt and the scoria. Yeah, look at it, moving up. Things are looking up. You guys want a photo, anyone? Yeah, get a video of it moving. You see it moving there, Barry?
Oh, yeah.
There, which kind of came out of nowhere. This might throw us a curveball. So it's 5:42. Sun sets at 6:25, so we should have about a half hour up there at least. And again, we want to see the shadow of the mountain. I find the shadow to be incredible, although the sun needs to be seen for a shadow to form, right?
That's true.
It's all part of it, right? In her white dress. And this cinder cone here is what appears to be the bosom of Poliahu, the breast of the goddess of the snow, the cinder cone here. So when we see snow, possibly Friday morning, you'll see if you can spot the figure of the Hawaiian goddess, Lilinoi, goddess of the mist. James Clerk Maxwell Radio Observatory right over here, sub-millimeter radio astronomy happening over here. You can see their window is open. They've got their shield over the actual telescope or radio observatory. I'm gonna take you up here before we go to the summit. The 2 Keck observatories, Keck 1 and Keck 2, were known as the largest telescopes on Earth for many years, since the mid-90s when they both had first light, early 90s Keck 1, mid-90s Keck 2, and they each have a 10-meter in diameter primary mirror. And they sometimes work together, and they're using adaptive optics where they're segmented mirrors that can be adjusted using lasers, creating guide stars or artificial stars in the sky. This is where some people, when you hear about skiing or snowboarding in Hawaii, they call this the poi bowl. This is where we went sleigh riding the other day, the Poi Bowl. Yeah, you can actually go down from here. My daughter went down on a boogie board. I actually did too, and I spun around backwards, and I thought I was going to flip over. This is the Caltech submillimeter observatory that was abandoned a few years ago, and should be the first one on the list to decommission and remove observatories to make right with the original plan up here. So the James Clerk Maxwell, which is this one in front of us here, and the Smithsonian submillimeter array, which is right over here, were both part of the Event Horizon telescope that got an image of a black hole in April of last year.
Yes.
You guys remember seeing that in the news? That
Yes.
was big news.
There was a Nova show that showed
Yeah.
it.
So that's a project that was very successful, and they're going to continue. They're going to next turn it on the center of our galaxy, the Milky Way, the supermassive black hole at the center of our galaxy. And this time, not only are they going to get an image, but this time they're going to get a video of stars being eaten by the monster at the center of our galaxy. So basically, the Event Horizon Telescope is radio observatories across the planet that, using interferometry, which is stitching data from different points on the globe, ultimately allows it to act as a Earth-sized telescope. Imagine building a telescope the size of the planet. And that's basically what they did. And two of these observatories, James Clerk Maxwell and the Smithsonian, were part of that project and will be part of future projects, because it's going to be a collaboration that will move on into the future. Observatories are built for 150-mile-an-hour wind, and sometimes it goes above that. And it wasn't during a hurricane. It was more than Category 5 force, hurricane force wind, but it was just a windstorm similar to what is supposed to be moving in tomorrow. And on the other side of the Kecks is the NASA infrared telescope. Behind the telescopes there, you can see Maui, Haleakala Maui, in the distance. This observatory on our left is Mauna Kea. It's a University of Hawaii Hilo campus observatory that is currently not being used. They need to get rid of it. We gotta act in righteousness up here, I think. The absolute summit of the mountain is to your right. There's a trail that goes to it, but there's a sign at the trailhead that says, Mauna Kea is historically, culturally, and environmentally significant. Help preserve our cultural and natural landscape and show your respect by not going to this point. So we don't go up there. Sometimes we see people going up there and standing on the altar at the summit, and that is that is frowned upon. The United Kingdom Infrared Telescope, we just passed it. It's on our left, and its window is open. You can see the telescope inside. The highest porta potty in the whole state of Hawaii is to your left over here. So we're going to be parking right where my partner is parked over there, and you guys will be able to use that restroom if needed. These cinder cones down here were the last eruptions on Mauna Kea 4,500 years ago. So when Mauna Kea erupts again, it probably will be somewhere down in here. So I'm going to take us to another location. We're going to stay in the van, and I'm just going to show you this vantage point, and then we're going to drive up closer to the restroom, so it will be conveniently located for those of you who need to use it, because there are no restrooms down over here. This white observatory here is the Canada-France-Hawaii Observatory. It had first light in 1979. Although it is a little older than some of the others, it constantly gets updated with its optics and such. So over here we're seeing the Haleakala Maui, which also has observatories upon it. It's 10,000 feet tall. We're also seeing Kohala, which is this shorter mountain, which is the northwestern mountain in Hawaii. But we're seeing more than just that. There's more. It slices, it dices. Julienne's. If you look to the left of Maui, we're seeing Koho'olawe. Remember the island I talked about earlier?
Yes, yes.
And also Lanai. Lanai behind it. Kind of
Can't
comes
really
up
see it.
like a triangle. Okay. It's to the right of NASA, which is this one over here on the right. And to the left of Haleakala, Maui. Look out your window there. Can you see it? Okay. Maybe you'll see it. Okay, look out your window there.
There we
Okay,
go.
now.
Okay. And we'll see it from where we're going. Let's get up there because that sun's going to drop beneath
Quickly.
the clouds, and I want you all to experience this. And when that sun's visible, that shadow is going to form, kind of where you can see it starting to form over there with some rays, but about 10 minutes before the sun sets, the shadow is incredible. This is Gemini North up here. Gemini South is in the Atacama Desert of Chile. It looks just like this observatory, except it's in Chile. They've got one in the northern hemisphere, they've got one in the southern hemisphere. So they got the best of both worlds.
So I am at the summit of Keck Observatory. See them in the back. It's hard to breathe up here, but as you can see, beautiful sunset about to start. So we will see how this view is, and we've got all the other observatories that you can see in our distance. So we're about ready to sit back and enjoy the sunset here above the clouds and Keck Observatory. So welcome Backyard Astronomy to the world-renowned Keck Observatory Summit. Heavy breathing. Hard to catch your breath up here. Whew. Beautiful sunset above the clouds. Just got out of the van to go to the restroom, and it just about took it out of me. Whew. Air is thin. Beautiful sunset though. Sunset from atop of Mauna Kea. Keck Observatories. NASA has their dome open. just watch the sunset. Beyond the dome there, you can see the island of Maui, which is totally awesome.
Much worse, right?
There's 1,000,003 of us there.
Yeah, I know.
I work for a company called Keck, and it's a large global insurance brokerage. So we look after everything in Northwest Territories and Canada, so other guys basically just north of Calgary, all the way up to It's a surprising new business. And generally hunting hands too.
Yeah. How long did it get this?
So we can get up to 35 or 37 degrees Celsius. So that's 100. But it's daylight. The sun rises. Sun rises about 3:30, and then sets again. So you only get 3 hours of dark. The flip side is you're fine.
Yeah, yeah.
Just a little too much at home.
Hey, doggy.
I have an escaped water bottle. Did you find it? It's gray. Did you see it or no?
No.
A gray water bottle, gray roof, you get gold. Oh.
No?
Telescopes are open.
Why does this cold feel different? Yeah. Is it lack of humidity?
It's dry, yeah.
We cannot.
Okay.
Oh,
I'll come in there and help you out. Let me come back there.
wait a minute. I'll take my phone.
You
Here,
got
it's
it?
right here.
Did you
It's
get
right
it?
here. Give me that handle.
Well, that's mine.
That's yours. You're not in yours either.
Should I come back?
Just if you want to leave. It's so far down in here,
hole that I
Jeff,
can't
in the hole
Okay.
that, and our hands are frozen.
I'm just gonna climb right over you.
Right over. We're
See, this one's mine.
You see what they pay for this part of the tour?
This is an extra part for getting up here.
Yeah.
It's not, you're in the back now, there's nothing there. It's just the metal. Here's your hand.
Okay.
Oh, this is very interesting.
I think it's the guys.
Domes are all open.
No videos. No funny remarks from the band.
Ooh, watch where you're grabbing. No, I'm kidding.
All right, Jeff, you're giving me a bad rub. Yeah. Now you see our problem. I'm moving over as far as I can. You see what I'm doing? My problem? Do you want us to get out? Is that what that helps?
No,
I
it's
got
good.
out? Good. Oh, God.
All right. Such
least-
sweet lady.
At least I don't feel like an idiot.
Yeah, you feel good.
I'm glad I made somebody's day. Oh man, I don't. If I get out again,
You can't get out. We're
I
not
better.
allowed.
I better stay. I better stay fit.
Okay. All right, everybody buckled up?
Back right. Look at it. Oh yeah.
What? Look at
Yeah, the silver one out the right window. It's like a merry-go-round spinning around.
It's going around.
So you can actually see the telescope inside of it over there. See the structure?
reflection. And that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
See 9,000?
Yeah, we're gonna try.
You were taking
Yeah.
photos with
Put it in four-wheel drive so we have the
Lower gear.
lower gear. Yeah.
I just walked to the restroom, and I tell you, it takes it out of you up here.
Well, totally. Yeah.
Just the wind. You can't get your breath.
Yeah. But also the altitude. It just it's hard to do anything up here. When we went sleigh riding down the hill, we had to climb back
Oh,
up.
God, yeah.
I wouldn't make it.
All right. All right, that was an incredible sunset. The shadow was pretty cool when the sun was actually visible. We actually got to see it. And the rangers have asked us to descend the mountain. It's a call based on safety. And we'll see what we can see from the visitor center area. What we'll do is go into the parking lot at Halepohaku, which is that residence area. And the street lights that are on in there, we can turn them off. They have little switches on the bottom of them. And if there's a clear sky from there, we'll do a star show from there. If not, we'll head west and see if we can find a clearer opening and see what we can do. Sometimes we do a star show at Kilohana, where we had dinner. Outside of the enclosure, there was like an open field. So we'll see. Play it by ear here and try and find a clear sky. Yeah. You can see Hualalai, the mountain that Kona is built on, where you three ladies started today. And that's the mountain right there. When we left Kona, we were looking up into the clouds, and now we can see the summit of that mountain, and we're looking down upon the inversion layer of clouds over there. Mauna Loa in front of us as well. You can see the summit region where the caldera is. And look at this crater over here in front of us.
I see
On
it.
the right, you can see this is I've seen people climbing this one with snowboards in their arms. They're looking for they want to drop into the bowl, kind of like a skateboarder would drop into a skateboard bowl. Snowboarders like to catch air off the other side. All right, so we got to see some activity and movement of the observatories. They're feeling optimistic, I think. Especially through infrared and radio frequencies, they can view light through the clouds. Even optically, you can a bit. So, my guess is they're going to be operating tonight. But we'll go down and see if we can get a star show from another location. Right, that was an incredible textured sky. It was like feathered with reds and pinks and peaches, and It was pretty, huh? So reasons for Mauna Kea being such a great spot for astronomy is, well, one of those reasons is this cloud layer that we're seeing below us. When the trade winds are blowing, that's what keeps the cloud layer pretty typical, and traps that moisture low, keeping everything above it dry. These clouds that are above us today are not typical, and that storm front that's moving in, I think, is these are clouds that are pushing ahead of it. But typically it's very dry up here. The dry atmosphere is a clear atmosphere, but that's not the only reason. There are many reasons, and the reasons together are what create a great place for astronomy. I was told the southwest is where it's moving in from. Lack of light pollution on the Big Island is another big reason for great astronomy up here. Very little light pollution. Population is low enough where we can control the light pollution. There's county ordinance to keep light pollution at minimum levels. And that is why when you're driving the highways and byways, the Big Island, you don't notice, you don't see many street lights on the highways and byways. And when you do see street lights, they're yellow, they're dim, they're LEDs, they're facing down, and they're not very bright. Because they're facing brown, they're not causing any disturbance with the observatory. So very little light pollution. Also, very little air pollution. No major factories, also very, because of the low population on this island and such a great area of land, 4,000 square miles, and only about 189,000 people that live here. No major factories, so very, very little air pollution. The wind, we do get some high-speed wind up here, but it is considered a laminar flow, which is a smooth wind. See Keck opened up here.
Oh yeah.
Subaru. So because it is a laminar flow, a smoother wind rather than a chopping, gusty wind, it doesn't disturb the atmosphere too much. Although there are times when it's not windy, and it does get pretty windy quite often. That's why we see the holes in the signs. So very little wind pollution, very little air pollution, very little light pollution, and very little moisture pollution as well. You take all of these reasons together, and it makes for, it's clearing up the atmosphere as clear as you're going to get it, as far as consistent, clear atmosphere for more nights of the year than in most places on the planet Earth. You take all of these reasons combined, add the fact that there's a road that goes up to 200 feet shy of 14,000 feet. Getting up on high mountaintops is, there's dry atmosphere, but there's less atmosphere because you have climbed already 14,000 feet through the atmosphere, so there's less atmosphere to view through. And then there's a big one that you add to this, and it's our latitude. Here in Hawaii, we're 19.5 degrees north latitude of the equator, and because of this, we're close enough to the southern hemisphere that we can see about 80% of the southern hemisphere from Hawaii. And that's in addition to 100% of the northern hemisphere, because we're still in the northern hemisphere. So we can see more of the viewable sky from here than in most places on Earth that are good for astronomy. So this is, the combination of these reasons is what makes Mauna Kea such a great site for astronomy.
Okay, everybody, Perry again from Backyard Astronomy. Thanks for taking that tour to the summit of Mauna Kea with me. It was quite something seeing all those telescopes. Some of them opened up for us. I didn't even know there was a radio telescope up there. But it was hard to breathe, real hard to breathe up there. But made it through, and glad I did it. It was on my bucket list. and I was glad to take some of you along with me. So anyway, until next time, please make sure you join our Facebook group if you have not already, which is Backyard Astronomy on Facebook.com, and of course make sure you hit that subscribe button if you have not done so already, and really appreciate each and every one of you. Thanks so much for following along, and we'll catch you next time. Take care.